Welcome to the Inner Self Confidence Podcast. I'm your host, Katie Delamont. Real talk for women who are done overthinking, freezing, or abandoning themselves. If you are ready to feel calm in your body, trust yourself, and speak up without forcing it, you're in the right place. Because confidence isn't something you perform, it's something you build from the inside out. Let's go. Welcome to episode 44 of the Inner Self Confidence Podcast. The cost of speaking up. In today's episode, I'm going to demystify these limiting beliefs that most of us have, especially women, about speaking up. The top 3 things I hear from my clients and everybody all over the world is I don't want to speak up because 1, they won't listen, 2, it's going to make things worse, or 3, I don't know what to say or how to say or say the right thing. Let's jump right into this very short 10-minute podcast episode. Okay, I want to start today's podcast with a question. By a show of hands, how many of you have ever regretted speaking up? Not regretted staying silent, because obviously I'm sure everybody's hand would go up, but I really want to know how many of you genuinely have regretted saying something, and be completely honest, please. Maybe you finally told somebody how you felt. Maybe you set a boundary. Maybe you called out a behavior that didn't sit right with you. Maybe you told the truth. And afterwards you thought, well, that just made things worse. This is the biggest thing I hear from my clients and people all over the world. The top 3 reasons why people don't speak up is 1, they think it's pointless because the other person won't hear them, they won't respect them, and it's just pointless. Number 2 is if I say something, it will make things worse. It'll make them angry and stressful, and then that will make me stressed. And number 3 is I didn't say it right. I had to be perfect at it. So I know that feeling because for most of my life, I genuinely believed that speaking up made life worse because I was in environments that reaffirmed that belief. Because I was carrying that belief, not because of, yes, okay, in my childhood, the environments, I couldn't control them. But when I became an adult, I still found myself in these environments because of my subconscious belief that it just makes things worse and it doesn't matter. And I have to be perfect at it. I failed a university class because I spoke up. I've lost friendships because I've spoke up. I've had people judge me, reject me, misunderstand me, and pull away because I spoke up. I actually didn't talk to my mother for months. Right before she got diagnosed with cancer, we were on a no talking thing for months because I spoke up saying something that everybody else was thinking and saying behind her back, and I was the only one to say it to her face. Now, looking back at it, I did not say it at the appropriate time and in the appropriate way. Like, I definitely, my delivery was not good. At the time, I remember thinking, this is exactly why you just should keep your mouth shut, Katie. Your mouth always gets you in trouble. I told myself that speaking up damages relationships, that honesty just created more distance. And so I want to put this back on you and really ask you, if you regret speaking up, I want you to think about, do you regret speaking up because of how the other person reacted? Did they get angry? Did they reject you? Did they judge you? Did they pull away? And then how that affected you? Maybe you spoke up, but you did not like your delivery. Again, you thought you had to be perfect. So maybe it was the timing, maybe it was your tone, maybe it was what you said, how you said it. If we strip those 2 things away, other people's reactions and your delivery, can you honestly say that you regret speaking up? No. Now, one of those things you have control over. The other one you also have control over, and it's called an energetic boundary. 1, other people's responses. You cannot control that. And I'm not saying that you will not be affected by the way other people feel, but that is an energetic boundary. And I'll do a whole nother podcast on that because you are taking on other people's uncomfortable feelings when it has nothing to do with you, especially if number 2, you are very confident in your delivery. Now, confidence doesn't come through being perfect and doing things right all the time. It comes from fucking up. It comes from failing. It comes from doing it wrong over and over until you finally practice so much that you start to get the hang of it. So many of us want to go from not having any good boundaries to having the best boundaries. And they think that it's this like easy thing to do overnight, but it's not. Or speaking up for yourself, not just boundaries, but actually expressing yourself, self-expression, wherever that is, whatever that is. I think many women confuse these experiences. We tell ourselves that we regret speaking up because when we look closer, what we really regret is the reaction that followed and our response. And this is where understanding confidence completely changes. For years, I thought confidence really meant being brave enough to actually speak. Now I know that confidence is being able to tolerate that having the capacity for what happens after you speak. And leading up to it, it's about being regulated before, during, and after because speaking up will absolutely cost you something. It's going to cost you approval, certainty, and the illusion of that relationship, whether it's healthy or not. People don't regret speaking up, they're grieving what speaking up actually revealed. Because when you speak up, and if it reveals dysfunction, that means that you are living in some dysfunction. And that's an uncomfortable reality check that you may have to make some very uncomfortable decisions if you want to get yourself out of dysfunction, whether you're in a relationship with somebody who is dysfunctional or whether you have some dysfunctional patterns, because we've all been there. I have had a fucking long list of all dysfunctional patterns and I am slowly chipping away at, and I am not done, and I never will be. None of us will be. I believe, healing, we can be thriving 90% of the time, but we will still have dysfunctional sort of patterns or beliefs or something to work on. It's the human experience. Now, nobody wants to talk about this part. Speaking up actually reveals the things we'd rather not know. It reveals that we've been people pleasing, where we've had weak boundaries, where we've been keeping relationships afloat by constantly abandoning ourselves and over functioning for their under functioning. Can we talk about that? Accepting crumbs and calling it a fucking pie. Sometimes it reveals that a relationship was built on just staying quiet. The truth is, speaking up doesn't create problems, it reveals them. And for years, I blamed my voice when really what was being exposed was, like I said, my own lack of inner self confidence, my own fear of rejection, my need for approval, my desperate attempt of being heard. I wanted everyone to like me, agree with me, and I wanted honesty to be met with appreciation and respect. But life doesn't work like that. So before I go any further, I just want to acknowledge something that not every difficult conversation is handled perfectly. It can't be. I've spoken from anger, I've spoken from resentment, and I've spoken from hurt. I've said things with the right message and the wrong delivery. I have spoken because I've wanted someone else to change rather than because I was clear within myself. But that's not a regret about speaking up. That's feedback about my own emotional maturity. That's learning how to communicate more effectively. That's learning how to respond instead of react. One of the biggest lessons I've learned through meditation, coaching, all of my healing journey is that speaking up isn't about becoming louder, about becoming more confrontational or okay with confrontation or about getting your own way. It's about becoming more aligned to what you think, what you feel, what you need, and what you know to be true inside of you. That's why I often say that confidence isn't believing everyone will like what you say. It's believing in yourself enough that the only person that needs to approve this is you. Confidence is trusting yourself enough to say it anyway, trusting yourself enough to handle whatever comes next. So if you've been carrying regret about speaking up, I want to leave you with a question. Do you actually regret speaking up, or do you regret what speaking up revealed? Do you regret using your voice, or do you regret discovering that someone couldn't hear it? Do you regret telling the truth, or do you regret losing the illusion that everything was okay? because those are two very different things. The truth rarely damages, I would say never damages, a healthy relationship. It reveals an unhealthy one. And while that is painful, it's also where the healing journey begins. Because what we don't speak, we store. And eventually the body starts carrying what the mouth refuses to say. Thanks for listening to the Inner Self Confidence Podcast. If you want to check out my best-selling memoir, Trust the Flames, jump on Amazon or my website, www.katiedelmont.com. You can jump on there and see how we can also work together, maybe in a one-to-one container, or my Inner Self Confidence program. Send me a message. I also have a free discovery call on there, and I'll see you next time.